What's up again, everybody? I know it's been a while since our first version or our first game of this match, but we are back. It was me and I'm a Walrus playing the same two teams as the last gameplay video that I uploaded. He's going ahead and going first after the results of that first game went in my favor. Spoiler alert. By the way, I am playing that same team that uses Asuka to try and cheapen things that have good wind fielded effects so that I can use Absorbing Man here to do crazy stuff. I roll up two sidekicks, a fist, and a bolt. Things that I would generally want to buy on this team would be the Poison Ivy so that I can double the wind fielded effect, KO 2 of my things, and deal a bunch of breath weapon damage. I buy the Asuka after fixing a sidekick on turn 1. He's rolling up his turn 2 rolls. He's got two sidekicks, a shield, and it looked like a question mark. Yes, shield and a question mark. He's running Orbital Strike, as we talked about before, and he's looking to Orbital Strike with things like Grell or with Sasha Banks. Both have beneficial when KO'd effects, so if you miss on the Orbital Strike, you get some benefit. The biggest thing you want to Orbital Strike with that he didn't do for in the first game is use Becky Lynch as the Orbital Strike. So we talked about it, and I suggested and recommended that he try using Becky Lynch this time. So turn 1 looks like he purchased and prepped a Grell somehow, or maybe he did that this turn, and then also grabbed a second die there as well. Rolling up my turn 2. Are we going to keep the sidekick and fix it? Looks like we are going to fix it to a question mark. Pay 3 for a second Asuka, and then we're going to prep all of that, allowing us to guarantee that we're going to roll 2 Asukas next turn and 5 total dice. So Yawning Portal and Grell are both in prep. And rolling them both up, and we miss the Grell and the Yawning Portal, which is unfortunate. But keeping the sidekick and probably re-rolling both the character and the action, because if you get the character to come up, that's great. And if you get the Yawning Portal to come up, that's even better. And it looks like he does get both to come up, which is going to help a ton. You don't have to pay to field that Grell. And Grell has a fielding cost on, I think, 2 of 3 sides, I think. Fielding 2 characters discounts everything by 2. And let's see what he ends up buying for 2 cheaper. Gonna grab one of those 4-cost Becky Lynches for 2 and put it into the bag. I think that's the right call. I think if we're trying to make Becky Lynch work as an Orbital Strike target, getting her out early and then buying up Orbital Strikes quickly is a great play and a great plan for how to win the game. And as far as what you do with this question mark, I don't know, maybe you prep with it. Like Resurrect seems like a good thing, but it looks like he just passed. Wow, we roll up both Asukas. Now the question is, do we want to re-roll the second Asuka? It looks like we do, because we do want masks to try and purchase stuff with. She provides her own discount, a la Yawning Portal. She's reducing the purchase cost of all of my mask characters by 2. That includes herself, which is pretty cool. So last game we bought Poison Ivies and we bought Absorbing Mans. This game looks like we are going to buy an Absorbing Man and prep. So we know we're going to roll that Absorbing Man next turn because our bag was empty. So 5 in the used goes into the bag, 1 preps, leaving you with 4 in the bag. Oh no, he saved the question mark because he wants to make my Asuka attack. So he's going to make the Asuka attack, and it looks like he's going to block with the Grell and a sidekick. So that the Grell's when KO'd effect triggers, allowing him to pull 2 dice from the bag, look at them, and then decide which one goes to prep and which one goes to used. That Grell is super cool. I like the ramp and the churn aspect of it. I think that's a great when KO'd effect. And in doing so, by blocking with the sidekick and the Grell, that does produce 4 damage to KO my Asuka as well. So Asuka obviously isn't going to go through since it was blocked. But it is going to KO, so that'll go into the prep area. So we see the Becky Lynch was the die chosen to prep, which is the right call. You don't want to put that into the used pile. Pull 2 more dice, and you've got yourself a nice chunk of dice that you're going to roll. Very, very solid. Oh, and Becky Lynch comes up immediately. It would be nice to have the Yawning Portal for the fielding costs, because the fielding costs here are generally pretty expensive. You're paying 2 to field the larger sides there. He also didn't get the Grell, so maybe rolling both of those. And they both miss. They both miss in the worst possible way on the single bolt sides. But technically, you can just pay those 2 bolts, and that can be the fielding costs for Becky Lynch. And this is the 4-cost Overcrush and nothing else Becky Lynch. It has the global as well, but this does not have the when fielded reroll effect. That's the 5-cost. Now, you could, and in fact it's probably the right call, but you could argue that you should definitely attack every turn with Becky Lynch. And we all understand that Becky Lynch is so strong as a 4-cost Overcrusher on like an 8-8 side. I think that's the side that we're seeing here. But the point of this team was not to just kill your opponent with Becky Lynch. The point of I'm a Walrus's team is to use Becky Lynch in concert with Orbital Strike. So it looks like he's not going to choose to attack with it. Instead, he's going to buy something, I guess. Oh, maybe he's not going to buy anything. He's just going to float that energy. We saw him fix one of those sidekicks in the field. We missed the Asuka. We missed the Absorbing Man. Keeping a sidekick is generally okay. Rerolling and getting the Absorbing Man and a sidekick again, another sidekick, but the Asuka does not come up. Now, because he saved energy, we can safely assume that he's going to force something to attack. And assuming he will do that, he's probably going to push the Absorbing Man out there into the attack zone for us. And if that's the case, unfortunately, we didn't bring a pushback global or anything like that, so he could either end up just taking the 3 damage that we rolled here, or he could chump block it and KO it. I'm going to spin a sidekick down using the Intellect Devourer global, fixing it to something, anything, and buying a Venom. So I didn't buy Venom last game, or I did, but it didn't have any effect last game because he did not have any level 1 character dice that I could take control of. But this time he has 2 sidekicks, so if I can get that level 1, or sorry, if I can get that Venom out, I could take both of those level 1 sidekicks and have them as my own. So he forces my Absorbing Man to attack, and he thinks about it for a second. It looks like he's going to block, but then he decides he's rather would just put that into my used pile, take the 3 damage, call it a day. Not sure what he's going to do with those. Oh, he could just Supreme Intelligence. Yeah, it looks like he is going to Supreme Intelligence there. Chooses to take the 3 damage from the Absorbing Man rather than chump it and let me roll it again next turn, which I think is the right call. And his turn begins, drawing 3 dice, 3 sidekicks out of the bag, refilling, and then getting another sidekick. So supreming over the Yawning Portal is a really good call, just in general. I think you're going to want to roll that as Yawning Portal, and then, oh, this is great. Feel the sidekick allows you to pick up an Orbital Strike and put it into the bag if you can manage the Yawning Portal roll. Of course, you don't actually have to worry about it too much. You could just keep what you have there, buy a Orbital Strike, and then prep it because you brought your own Becky Lynch Global. But he's going to try for the Yawning Portal portion. And he gets the Yawning Portal, so Yawning Portal is going to come out into play. Anything he purchases goes to the bag. Anytime he fields a character die, it's going to reduce the purchase cost by 1. So everything now costs 1 less. Let's see if he chooses to pick up an Orbital Strike, or maybe he buys another Becky Lynch and puts it into the bag. That's a good play as well. Paying 2 for a Sasha into the bag. Oh, 2 Sashas into the bag. Sasha Banks has some pretty decent stats overall on her own. Fixes a sidekick, floats a question mark and a shield. And I guess passes over to me with the question and shield in the in the reserve pool. Drawing 4 from the bag, 4 just measly sidekicks. This is going to be a very short and easy turn. You're just going to want to roll as many sidekicks as possible, field as many of them as possible, and then use the Resurrect Global to try and fix the bag. And that's exactly what we do. Not sure we do anything with this. Maybe you keep them both for Supreme Intelligence and Supreme Intelligence over a sidekick for next turn. Obviously, you can't do that right now because nothing's in the used. We pass on over. And he uses Supreme Intelligence to move over that Yawning Portal again. I assume he's trying to use those the Yawning Portal just to keep the fielding costs under control for some of these character dice that he's going to be rolling. Then again, they're not too prohibitive. At least they aren't right now. If he gets more Becky Lynch dice, then they do become a little bit more expensive. He gets both characters to come up. Looks like he may just do the exact same play that he did before. Field both of those characters. Probably with the Yawning Portal, I would imagine. Oh, it looks like the 021 side came up, so you don't even have to pay to field the Grell, it looks like. But see, he's getting a sizable board, which means that this might be a good time to try and purchase or an Orbital Strike. Over the next few turns, you're looking to buy an Orbital Strike and get it rolling, because if that's your win condition. If you're resolving yourself to not attack, he's gonna pay and KO his own Grell here. If you're choosing to not attack with Becky Lynch and instead focus only on Orbital Strike damage, then you probably want to get the Orbital Strike. He realizes after pulling the single Sasha Banks out of the bag, he realizes it doesn't matter what sidekick he pulls out, he's always going to pick a sidekick to go into the used once he refills the bag, and always preps the Sasha. He's going to attack with Sasha Banks, and it's probably good for me to just let this deal damage to me, not worry about KOing it. And it's easier to take the one, because that is the infiltrate Sasha Banks. Leave it unblocked, take the one infiltrate damage, versus trying to block it, having it KO something of mine, or trying to block it and then having some big issues where, we cycle him even harder than he is currently. Roll up the two characters out of the three. Yeah, now we get all three. That's pretty good. So Absorbing Man plus Venom is pretty sweet. Start with the Asuka, because every time you field a mask character die, she gets 1/1 stronger. So field Asuka, then field Absorbing Man, then we field Venom, and we take both of his sidekicks. It's unfortunate that he did not have characters with more value on the board. So the Venom by itself will use the ability and take one of his sidekicks, and then the Absorbing Man effect will take the other sidekick. And then we have control over both of those sidekicks. We'll use those gold sidekicks to represent which ones are his. And then most likely we're going to attack with the two sidekicks anyway. Now here's the thing about controlling character dice. Unless the card specifically states otherwise, if those character dice that I'm controlling that are his, if they leave the field on my side at any point, like if they go to the attack zone and then are unblocked, or if they get KO'd, no matter where they go, they will go to his prep area. So I believe the Asuka is just being pushed out there by myself. I don't think it's being forced to attack. I think I'm just pushing it out there. Attacking with it. It is a 6/6, which is pretty decent. Attacking with the Venom and two sidekicks that belong to my opponent. A 6/6, I think a 5/5, and then two 1/1s coming at. Or maybe it's a 4/4. He's going to block with the Becky Lynch. He's going to block with the Sasha. That's going to KO the Sasha, which means he gets to do just crazy bag stuff. Those sidekicks will always go to his prep, as we said earlier. That shield has no effect, unfortunately. You can't res on your opponent's turn, which is a bummer, right? It'd be really cool if you could res on your opponent's turn. Those sidekicks go to prep, deal him 2 damage. The Sasha KOs, so he has to trigger the Sasha effect, which is, I think you just draw and prep a die, right? His bag is super lean right now, I can only imagine. Looks like he's got 5 currently in circulation, like on the board, sidekicks, so his bag probably is just 3 sidekicks, right? Oh, bumps the camera. Camera bump. That went flying. Did you see that? That was crazy. Perhaps a sidekick. That does nothing. That shield does nothing, so it goes over into the use, and his turn begins. So his field is just a Becky Lynch, and that's it. Pulls the remaining 2 sidekicks from the bag, shakes it up. There is a yawning portal in there. That would be pretty good in this turn. It's very likely, as we see, that he was going to draw that yawning portal because his bag was very thin. He would have had to leave, you know, that single 1 more die in the bag, I think. Maybe there's 2 in the bag. Yawning portal comes up immediately. That's great. And, you know, you probably want to keep a good portion of these characters as energy so that you can just load up on orbital strikes and more Becky Lynches. Even more Sasha Banks and Grell. That's not even that bad, really. He's going to re-roll it, though. They do come up as double energy again, so no harm, no foul. He gets a sidekick off it, which is good because the sidekick will further reduce the purchase cost of all of those character dice that you want to load up on. Yawning Portal, Field, and Field reduces everything by 2. If it were me, I would go Becky Lynch, Becky Lynch, Becky Lynch. No, maybe I would just go 2 Becky Lynches and a Supreme Intelligence. Oh, no, sorry. Why do I keep saying that? And an Orbital Strike, excuse me. Or maybe 2 Orbital Strikes. What would that cost? That would cost 2, 4, 6, 8. What does he have to play with? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And in the bag are what? 2, 4, 5, 6. 2 sidekicks in the bag. So if you make 4 purchases, you have 6 dice in circulation. You can pull 1 out with Resurrection. So maybe you only make 3 purchases here. So what would be your top 3 purchases? I leave this question to you. What 3 dice would you purchase here to keep a perfect bag? He's going to buy a Becky Lynch. Putting it into the bag. You have to buy an Orbital Strike now, right? He is going to buy an Orbital Strike. That goes into the bag as well. And 1 more Becky Lynch, it looks like. So total of 3 Becky Lynches purchased. 2 of them in the bag currently. 1 Orbital Strike, I think. So that's 3 purchases with the 2 sidekicks. That means if you res once, you have a perfect bag, knowing you know exactly what you're going to roll next turn. I think you always hit that res with one of those energies. Then you can use the other 2 to Supreme Intelligence over the... Oh, he's going to fix a sidekick as well. I don't think you really need to. Use the other 2 energy to Supreme Intelligence over the Yawning Portal to help you pay for the cost of the 2 Becky Lynches. Seems good. Oh, he is going to fix. Maybe he's going to use that to... No, pay 2 for... Oh, he's going to buy another one. Interesting. He's going to buy another one and then use the Becky Lynch Global to put it in the prep area. And then he's going to buy a final copy of, well, there's technically 1 more on the card, but of Orbital Strike. So he has 2 Orbital Strikes. He has 2 Becky Lynches. He has 2 sidekicks in the bag. He's going to attack with the Sasha Banks. And if I choose to KO it, it's going to prep him dice. I am going to choose to KO it looks like, because if I take more infiltrate damage, eventually I'll start to pick myself off. Maybe that's the bad play for me. Maybe I don't KO that. So on to my turn. We don't have a lot of traction going. After we've done that, we haven't made any requisite purchases to really get us going in the right direction when it comes to like Poison Ivy. It'd also be interesting to see like a rogue copy, like to start messing with his bag a little bit, but I think we're a little too late for that. He's got like literally everything he needs to win the game in the bag, which is very dangerous for us. Of course, Orbital Strike can be a little bit fickle. You can sometimes just miss on everything. Speaking of missing on everything, I rolled sidekicks on all my sidekicks, and I rolled energy on all my characters, which is just a little bit weird when you think about it. So I'm not sure what you do with 3 masks. Again, we don't have a pushback global, which is a bummer. We're going to fix a sidekick to a question mark. Pay 4, and what do we pick up? Pick up the rogue. Why not? That's a fun card. Messes with the bag a little bit. So we see that he prepped off that Sasha KO'd effect. We see that he prepped one of the orbital strikes. So we know he's rolling an orbital strike this turn at least. Oh, and it looks like he's rolling a lot of good stuff. 2 orbital strikes, a Becky Lynch, a Yawning Portal, a Sasha Banks. So let's see what comes of all of this. He immediately gets the Yawning Portal and the Becky Lynch and 1 orbital strike and some energy. So at this point, you're probably just going. I would consider rolling the 2nd orbital strike as well, but it looks like he's going to keep that as 2 generic. Because you can technically play both of them. If any of your characters survive the first one and deal damage, then you can just do a second one, right? So this is kind of crazy. So what are the ranges of possibilities here? When he plays orbital strike, he's going to reroll his character dice. If they come up character face, they deal damage. If they don't, they get KO'd. So the lowest possible range is that the worst thing for him is that he misses everything. They all KO, deals me 0 damage. On the lower end of the spectrum for him, the worst end, he deals like 3 damage. On the top end, he gets both Becky's and the Sasha to come up, which would be bonkers. That would just deal massive amounts of damage. So now I'm going to cut away and just let you listen to the audio going forward for the rest of the video, because it's too good to pass up. Going for the gold.
Oh, poop.
I just hit you for 18.
18. Okay, I'm at 1. I'm at 1.
I now like this team so much more.
Oh, that's awesome. You can't attack, right? Thank God.
No, I didn't do the burst.
You didn't do the burst. Thank God, because that would have been the OT.
Very entertaining.
There. Oh, that's awesome. Just a casual 18. You know how it is.
Yeah, no big deal.
That's sweet. All right, my turn. I don't think I can follow something like that up. I don't think my next turn's going to be that cool. Okay, well, I'll get to corrupt you, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll corrupt you. We'll re-roll all this. Ah, I just threw my die over there. Let's try again.
So corrupt would trigger a bag refill, correct?
It would, but it won't matter because I missed it.
Oh, fair enough.
Womp womp. I will bring this sidekick down. Doesn't matter, but I'll do it anyway. I'll pay a shield for the Becky Lynch, and then I'll pay the good old-fashioned 5 for the Poison Ivy. And then I will pass to you and let you end it.
Okay, so activating Yawning Portal.
The big finish. The big finish.
And we'll finish it off with Orbital Strike.
Let's see it.
Okay, that's 10.
Done just another casual 10. I'm at -9. Just a simple -9 there. Before you do that, though, I'm going to pay this fist and make your Becky Lynch attack. Just in case. Just to put me out of my misery. Just coming in for that big old-fashioned 18. That was cool. Oh, that was fun.
That made everything worth it.